in this one, if I see these, my first and last terms are prime numbers, meaning there's not a whole bunch of different combinations. So if I test this by trial and error, my only possible combination for my first is going to be 2x and x. I don't have to test anything else. And the combination for my last is either plus 2 and minus 1, minus 2 and plus 1, plus 1 and minus 2, minus 1 and plus 2. So notice when I wrote my plus minus, here they have to be opposite signs, so I just switched the order. And so really what I'm testing here are just a couple combinations of these. And I can see that 2x plus 2 isn't going to even be a possibility, right? We talked about that because if that were the case, I could have factored out a 2 from the original form. So I can disregard this combination here. So the only ones I need to do is plus or minus 1 and then minus and plus 2. So when I test my, when I FOIL this and get my outer plus inner, here's my outer is positive, or let's say here, the negative 2, or negative 2 times a negative 2 is negative 4, and here a plus 1. That does not give me a positive 3, so it's not the positive negative. Instead, it's going to be the, here the positive plus 4, and the negative 1. That's going to be my solution, so a negative 1 and the plus 2. And that gives me my answer, 2x minus 1 and x plus 2. Okay, now, if you're going to use the rewrite the middle term, which also is fine, you can take your leading coefficient times your constant. 2 times a negative 2 is negative 4. What two factors of negative 4 have a total sum of positive 3? Plus 4 and minus 1. So if I rewrote my middle term as the sum of those still equal plus 3x. Drop my first and last terms down and factor by grouping. Here I can take out an x, leaving a 2x minus 1. Here I can take out a 2, leaving 2x minus 1. If I've done it right, I should have a common binomial factor to remove. And then the remaining factors of x and plus 2 form the terms of my other binomial factor. First step, this one you do need to reorder your terms. And I would take out the negative, so that counts as one of the common factors to remove. So I'm going to change the sign of each term. Okay, once I get to this step, it now becomes either trial and error or rewrite the middle term. I would probably choose rewrite the middle term on this because my negative 6 is no longer a prime number, even though my leading coefficient is. Okay, but I'm going to show you both methods. So I'm going to first start by the method I would probably select. So I would take my leading coefficient times my constant. 5 times a negative 6 is negative 30. What two factors of negative 30 have an overall sum of negative 13? And be careful on this, because if you pick negative 10 and negative 3, does that have a product of negative 30? No, it would be positive 30, right? So this one, you have to be really careful with it. It's negative 15 and a positive 2. Okay, drop down my x, move my first and last terms down. And notice here I do carry along that negative sign. Okay, I now factor by grouping, so my negative stays out front. I can remove a common factor of 5x, leaving an x minus 3. From the second pair of terms, I can remove a common factor of 2, leaving x minus 3. I have a common binomial factor of x minus 3. I take that out. And then 5x and plus 2 form the terms of my other binomial factor. Okay, and so this would be my final factored form. Now, if I had chosen to solve this at this point right here by trial and error, what I would be looking at is these possible combinations. I'd have 5x and x. Those are the only combination for my first terms. My last terms are either, and I'm just going to do each one separately. So plus 1 and minus 6. Again, the signs have to be different since my last product is negative. So it might be negative 1 plus 6, plus 2 negative 3, or negative 2 and positive 3, plus 3 negative 2, negative 3 positive 2, and then finally plus 6 minus 1, negative 6, plus 1. So these are the 8 different combinations that I might need to check here. So the first thing is, can I eliminate anything? Are any of these terms here factor or share a common factor with 5x? No, so there's nothing to eliminate. And so now it would just be a matter of testing my outer plus inners. So here when I test outer plus inner, I get negative 30 plus 1. That's not it. Move down. So again, the signs can eliminate both. My next one, I have negative 15 plus 2. That does give me negative 13. And so I see my answer wound up being the third one in my row, but it's not always going to be. It could be that you test 8 of them until you find the one that works.